Well, I've taken the blade off for two reasons. First of all, and mainly, I wanted to check it for unusual kinks, especially right here where the weld is. And I can't see anything wrong with this blade. There is no unusual kinks anywhere. And it's also going to be a lot easier to clean if it's hanging up like this. Okay, now also I'm checking the tires just to make sure that there's nothing unusual, any unusual bumps or anything like that. Little piece of sawdust maybe stuck on it. Anything that would make the blade oscillate in and out. Just want to make sure. And there isn't. Everything's fine. Okay, I've thoroughly cleaned the blade. I couldn't help but notice that after had it sort of dried, that there was quite a thick buildup on this blade, and I kind of feel that that's not a good idea to have all that guck on it. So what I'm doing is I'm just wiping off the excess. Okay, there, I've been around twice now. So okay, as I mentioned in the first video, I was thinking that if I was to adjust one of the bearings so that it's always riding just a little bit against the side of the blade, it might give it a little bit more stability. It's not pressing really hard. Well, I'm going to give it a try and see if it makes a difference. Well, I can't say that I can see any difference. That's too bad. I was hoping it would be better. Now, one thing that is really nice is that the cut is very narrow. It's got a very narrow curve, and that's really good. Now, if I had been smart, I'd have done a sample piece with this blade before I took it off. I don't have to go to all the work of putting it back on again. Now, I know that this blade does a better job than this blade. But how much better, it's hard to compare. So, I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to use my small bandsaw, and I'm going to cut a sample with this blade. This is just a cheap $20 blade. But it'll give me a rough idea. Do you ever notice that the fence on the bandsaw is on the wrong side? Like on the table saw, it's on my right. On my shaper, it's on the right. On my router table, it's on my right. But on the bandsaw, it's on the left. Now when you want to use your feather boards, everything's backwards. I want to make sure I keep track of these. Don't want to get them mixed up. Now the Resaw King is on the left and the cheap $20 blade is on the right. And it's really obvious that the cheap $20 blade does have more tear out. However, you can't help but notice that the Resaw King blade marks are very visible. They're just smooth. So I guess when Laguna talks about ultra smooth and remarkably smooth, they mean that the obvious visible blade cuts are ultra smooth and remarkably smooth. But I think that's kind of misleading. Okay, I'm going to try another experiment. I'm going to tension the blade as much as I dare. Okay, that's about as far as I'm going to go. I'll explain what I'm doing here in a second, but first of all, I noticed that after I had tensioned that blade there to its maximum, I couldn't readjust the tracking mechanism. That had jammed somehow, so I had to back off the tension just a little. Anyway, got that back to working. And what I'm doing here is I just wanted to see if I was to ride a piece of wood up against the blade as it's spinning by, if I'd notice any kind of fluctuations, and I couldn't notice anything. It was as if the blade was standing still. I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I took 3 slices off this 2x4 in hopes that things might improve here. Well, there is no question it is a lot better than the other blade I had. A lot better. I can still see the blade marks, but there's much less tear out. It's I guess that's what Laguna means when they say it's smooth. And I guess because there is less tear out, you wouldn't have to sand as much to get your wood nice and smooth. It is a better blade, but it costs like 10 times as much as an ordinary blade. Is it really 10 times better? Well, maybe because it's going to last a lot longer. I don't know. It'll probably last me all my life. And if I keep making negative videos, that life might not be too long. So okay, normally when I make a video like this, I usually end up by saying, would I get it again? And I usually say yes, I would, and that's after knowing all the problems with it. Now, there's no question about it. This blade is better than this blade. No question about it. But for me, just an ordinary retired guy, well, I could have probably used my money on something else. If you can afford it, get it. It is better. But for me, would I get it again? Personally, no. Okay, I know it sounds like I got a bit of buyer's remorse going on here. Now, it's not like I had to mortgage the house to buy this blade. It's not that expensive. And I hope you notice that my table saw is from Laguna, and I love it. And my lathe is from Laguna, and I love it. And my jointer is from Laguna, and I love it as well. It's just this one particular item I've got a little problem with. I don't think it's as good as it's advertised to be.